Community is fundamental to human existence, allowing for relationship building, shared expression of common interests, and a sense of belonging for its members. This becomes a vital support system for individuals who are building their lives afresh in new homes far away from home as they had always known it. Today, we examine the potential of community as a force of influence in society. Discussing the power of unity in community, please welcome Mr. Olakunle Soriyan, aka PK. PK is a Forbes author, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today best-selling author. He's an iconoclast, global thought leader, futurist, life strategist, and impact investor. PK, you're becoming a staple on community updates, and we love it. Welcome back.
It's a blessing to be back. I'm enjoying myself. So, yeah, good to see you today.
It's great to see you as well. Today we're talking community. And basically the assumption is that it's mostly for comfort, but we're investigating the potential for community to be a lot more than that. Please share your thoughts with us.
So, the idea of community is probably about one of the most understood concepts in the world today. And essentially, also because we don't go out of our way to really measure the type of outcome that we want to have with community, and if we are really having that outcome, right? I'm also guessing that you are speaking contextually about the African unique situation where you have a lot of people within this from the same geography in another country as guests.
That is correct.
And they are being hosted in a new geography, and for some reason they are not able to come together at the level they should.
Yes.
It's not typical of people everywhere, right? The Chinese have a different experience. They do come together. The Indians have a different experience. They do heavily come together.
Right.
Right. As a matter of fact, from the very beginning of an Indian landing anywhere, is landing into a community, is received by a community, trained by the community, exposed by the community, and supported by that same community. The same thing for the Jews, right? You must understand that Jewish situation is even more instructive because they have a critical dispersion across the globe. And the Jewish dispersion has grown to become a very powerful force that nations in the world today probably cannot find their strength without the Jewish community. And elections, even in America, right, must pay attention to how you manage the Jewish community, right? And that is also true in different industries, in music, in the movie space, entertainment, media, on many levels, right? So it is because a people understand the type of, power they really need to own within a space, and to ask themselves deep questions about how coming together can make that happen for themselves. And for years, decades upon decades, quality people have made that decision on behalf of those coming after. And so what they have is a legacy of power that has been built and sustained and kept and installed from generation to generation. The context is a bit different in Africa. First of all, the continent is not used to managing, big cities like we see today. Our understanding of big city is essentially Western, and we are not Westerners, right? A lot of what we are and what we can be is lost on so many people, and even on some of the most intelligent of Africans. But what is true is that the societies that we managed, were far more smaller and with a different set of assumptions altogether. if you actually go beyond that and you look at how we relate back home, you see that it is what we are used to doing back home that we do anywhere we find ourselves. Back home, you find people oppressing each other. Now, let's be clear. That's not how they were born. That's not how it used to be. But this is where we have come and where we are today. And
Like
I'm not going to
learned
sit
culture.
here to point fingers at colonialism and slave trade, though they do have their massive role to play in how we have turned out. But it will not be an excuse for who we will be today. Regardless of our history, the commitment for newness is always present in any generation. So we have the freedom, the right, and the power to articulate a different future for ourselves, regardless of the toxicity and pain of our history. That is true for every individual, for every business, for every organization, institution, and for every family. So we have to hold ourselves to that truth every time. However, what is true is that in our day, you find that people at home don't even come together. You go to the village of prominent Nigerians or prominent, Africans in different part of Africa, really. But I'll speak to the context I really understand, which is Nigeria. And you find that those societies, if you go to my hometown, you see, I'm from Ikene in Ogun State in Nigeria. Ikene is a town in Remo, right? And that town produced prominent Nigerians like, Tai Sholari, like Chief Obafemi Awolowo, like the former Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, Chief Kehinde Shofola, amazing people who was Nigeria's Attorney General at some point under Shehu Shagari's regime. You do have quality people that have risen from that particular geography. But if you go there, you see the level of underdevelopment. Of course, it is a local government today, but you go in there and you wonder that with the quality of people that have come out of this place, right? This place should have grown and developed into such an example of, urbanization, and probably an example for so many parts. The same thing with a place like Abeokuta, you have great people have come out of there. MKO Abiola, Olusegun Obasanjo, who have been two-time president in Nigeria, Professor Wole Soyinka, Chief Ernest Shoneko, I think, so many people, right? And you keep wondering, if you go to the north, it's the same thing. You go to where Shehu Shagari came from, or where, President Babangida or General Abacha or Murtala Mohammed and all these great leaders, came from, and you still wonder at the level of backwardness and, embarrassing infrastructure, social amenities that are still existing in those environments. So somehow you go to the Christian environment, you have songs like Minima Shiwaju, this is supposed to be a community of good, holy people, still looking for the one that will be more blessed.
What does that mean?
That means that I'm the one that will be the leader of blessed people. I'm the one that will be the
So
the
a
most
competitive
so you find an unnecessarily competitive spirit that competes within instead of competing without.
Right.
Instead of coming together to take the external force, we ignore the external force and can even understand defeat from the external force as long as we are leading internally. So you find that, I've seen people in, I don't want to mention names, I would rather talk about Nigeria than some other countries, but in South Africa, which I've experienced, you find that, there are black people there who will take anything from a white person. And I'm not trying to say white people have a problem or not. I'm just saying that the history of apartheid in that environment, you find that there are people who will take anything from a black person, from a white person. They can't imagine taking that from a fellow black person, or a Nigerian, for example.
So there's an internal divide. is the issue.
It's terrible. We can sit down to break down the history of that. A lot of it is not our fault. A lot of it is what happened to us, but a lot of it is still our fault on many levels. I mean, look, before the white man ever came to Africa, we've been trading slaves for over 1,000 years before then. Symposium discussion, I know, but that is, somewhat an unpopular fact out there.
Yeah.
We do have the understanding that we can contend with ourselves, and by that contention, we can create some type of superiority that puts us ahead of everybody. And so when we come to America on the first level, or we come to Canada or a foreign country, on the first level, that same spirit prevails. The same guy who cannot take care at home. I mean, look at the nuclear experience. You find you look at how much it pays his security guard. You look at how much it pays his chauffeur. He knows he can't have that in a normal society.
Right.
This United States,
Peanuts.
for example, you see that there's dignity of labor.
Yes.
If you want to have your fellow man to be driving you around, you are going to pay him for it. Maybe if he has gone to jail, you pay him $2,500 a month. If he's not an ex-convict, you're going to pay him like $4,000 or $5,000. You want to have somebody cooking your food, you want to cook it yourself, you're going to pay somebody $5,000 for that every month or more, right? You want to have a housekeeper, somebody in your house, you're going to pay for that. But somehow back home, there's really no dignity of labor.
Right.
The business leaders are not challenged on many levels, right? If you know that you have to, part of what you see, what is happening to the Naira back home, for example, when you see the Naira at 1,600, it is telling us now that we have to compete with the whole world.
Yes.
Right? We have to compete with the whole world. So the leaders have to challenge themselves. Business leaders have to be more innovative and creative, right? So if you look at it, therefore, how can you be content to paying someone? I know somebody who is very successful. We used to have a debate about what to pay, a cook, what to pay a security guard,
Right.
somebody living in your house as housekeeper, somebody cooking your food who can poison everybody and kill everybody tomorrow.
True.
This person you are eating this person's food without even any form of suspicion, but you are going to shout on this person, dehumanize this person, you pay the person poorly. Listen, I say it every time. Any salary you pay that cannot help somebody to save something, that cannot help him empower his immediate environment, and cannot take care of his basic needs, it's not a salary, it's slavery. Now, if you can't pay him enough, you should be humble to inspire him and motivate him to look forward to a higher pay, not to oppress him like you are paying anything. Because, and that's one of the problems you have in homes where the housekeeper is kidnapping, people and doing all kinds of things, because he was in that house, he saw your kid that was born yesterday grow to all the way to become, they say, he was in our house for 26 years. And one day he stole everything. He kidnapped this and said, what do you mean though? For 26 years, he watched kids grow up and become something. And he is still on the same spot, just eating better food and wearing better clothes. He can't lift his community. He can't put anything in the future. And it's not growing as a person. It's not getting the attention and the resources and respect and love and acceptance that his individuality deserves. So it's going to reject all of that, no matter how well you coordinate it. The human condition is not designed to tolerate known oppression. You can deceive the human being by not letting him know, by some reverse, engineering. He doesn't know he's being oppressed. But the day he finds out that he's in any form of oppression, he's going to begin to articulate his liberation. It's just the way it is. It's the design of the human being. And so what we have to learn is how to dignify ourselves and to learn to find meaning only to the extent that we empower other people. You see, there's a concept we talk about in our company, the Para Parenting Company, one of our businesses that I'm privileged to have founded. We talk about power parenting. And what we mean by that, at the core of it, is the idea that the only way to keep power is to give power, right? If you want to keep power, you want to remain powerful, then you have to learn how to install power in those who are coming after, in this case, your children, but beyond your children, your community, your environment, right? And people have to get better in doing that. So what you have is that spirit of competition. Community has to be about three things. And this is the goal of association. Anywhere. I don't care if it's friendship. I don't care if it's a marriage. I don't care if it's parent-child relationship. I don't care if it's employer-employee relationship. I don't care if it's a king to a society or government to the people. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. The three proof of association, the goal of association at any level is peace, relief, and progress. Peace, relief, and progress. If I hire you and I'm not getting any of those three, not one. If you give me relief, you're not giving me peace and progress, I don't want. It's not a relationship. You are in a soccer game where somebody is the soccer and somebody is the soccer, and two people or more people are draining each other, pretending to be in a community, pretending to be in a relationship. No matter the relationship you are in, you have to watch out for peace in that relationship, relief, and progress. Whether it's a mentor-protege relationship, whether it's a landlord-neighbor or a landlord-tenant or tenant-landlord, whatever that relationship is, peace, relief, and progress. Anything outside of that, you will need the courage to label it as a virus and the discipline to eliminate that or to contain it or compartmentalize it in your life so that the nuisance value of that exchange does not fall on you. Right? It falls on that person. You have to come to a state of self-honor that you decide not to suffer for the ignorance of other people, right? As much as you can. So community for me, is that when you look at the Indian model, or you look at how the Jews do it, you see that what they do essentially is to measure the weight of all their association by the progressive outcomes that it delivers. So, and how everything they are doing is onto that. Even in church, like I said to you, look at a song like that. I can give you many songs. Those songs tell you the mentality. Look at that. This is supposed to be a group of blessed people, children of God who have come together to celebrate their God. And a leading song is Èmi ni màá ṣíwájú wọn nínú olóríire. That is, among who are blessed, I will still be the one all of them leader will be admiring. So you look at that and you see that same unnecessary idea that I can find meaning only as people are incomplete. I can find my essence and my difference and my superiority only as others are weak. When we come together to say, I bought a car, and you go to a religious house like a church on Sunday morning, and your testimony is that you bought a car, people who don't go to church buy that car, first off. People who don't call any atheists buy that car without stealing, without cheating, without robbing anybody. Superior customer care, development, market penetration, they buy the car all day, right? So the idea then is you then come in and you are testifying. A car by universal standard is not a testimony. It's a tool of effectiveness, speed, and efficiency. If you come in your smallness to share that is what your God is doing for you, right? The credibility of that testimony is not that you have acquired a machine that gives you speed or efficiency. You have acquired a machine that is a symbol of superiority for most of the people who observe you. So it is the lack and the emptiness and the poverty of majority of your observers that defines the credibility of that moment. Not that there is any essence in the value you are sharing in that moment. Those are the ideas that cannot allow us to come together as a community. So in Nigeria, in America, for example, Nigerians are the most educated immigrant community. If you see what our doctors are doing, what our tech professionals are doing across the world, it's incredible. But how much of that is creating power? Let me tell you something. When community is in force, you don't just succeed, you create power. You see, there's a difference between power and money. Everybody with money is holding it in custody for power when it's ready.
Wow.
You cannot have power and not have money. But you can have a lot of money and have zero power. And without power, you can be cancelled with all your money in a moment, right? That's a big lesson Nigeria learned in 1993. I don't have time to break that down. Maybe if you have the time, I can break that down. But in 1993, Nigeria was taught a big lesson, how money is so weak and useless as far as power is concerned. And so you find other communities, even the Somalians seem to be doing better, right, across the world. And a lot of their movement is refugee driven. But you see, they organize themselves into the politics of the society they find themselves in, right? The Indians themselves work themselves into the politics of the societies they find themselves in, in mainstream media of the societies they find themselves in, right? But something fundamental, it's not as if we don't see Nigerians at the highest level, but if you look at the potential of our community in terms of how many people can actually be at that level versus how many people are actually there, that's when you see that deficit. So across the continent, we definitely can do better with community.
This is I've heard it said before that many times to go forward, we have to look, into our history, look at the past to see the path forward, and so a lot of, what you've shared, like the challenges, on the continent and how, that has shaped what we see in the first world countries that African immigrants have migrated to. My question, or what boggles my mind now, is the question around how the distance and the change of environment and the change in community doesn't seem to have as much impact on the paradigm shift that should happen, to give the Black immigrant a different experience when it comes to like coming together. Why hasn't a change in environment resulted in a better understanding of the value of community, the value of coming together, like you said, for relief, for peace, and for progress? Why hasn't it, shouldn't it translate to a progressive mindset that way?
It should translate, but it's not automatic. In this, you see, value as an idea is never natural. You don't naturally create value. You have to transcend the limits of, because nature at best is potential. You have to move into some of kinetic experience to really create value, right? You can be in an environment with so much, meat, but if you don't cook it, right, you are never going to be fed. You have to go out of your way to get the meat, right, probably kill the game and cook it and eat it. If you don't ever do that, you will perish, not for lack of meat, but because of the lack of yourself. So at the end of the day, therefore, it comes back to who we are. When you expand that, you see that if you take a lizard in Gambia and you bring it to London, it's going to remain a lizard, right? It's not going to perform in any way better than it was performing in Gambia. It's not going to live in any way superior to how it was living. You'll be fresher. You probably have more leftovers to play with to be able to eat, or what, more on the street or something. But the idea is that it will still be a lizard. Now, that is true for all species, as long as they don't have the faculty to reason, as long as they don't have the faculty to self-question. It doesn't matter how much you change their environment. They will be what they are because they don't have the capacity to elevate. They can't question themselves, so they cannot elevate. So when we move geographies, it is typical of species not to experience any significant change. They can have a different weather condition. They can, but there's no change. So when you see human beings change in that environment and they move from, say, some, society to another, and they get to a new environment and they are the same, it is the lowest resolution of species. That is what lizards do. That's what
Wow.
antelopes do. That's what dogs do. That's what, giraffes do. That's what elephants do. It becomes a problem when human beings do that, because we have a bigger brain
Yes.
than these animals. So it's jungle behavior. Let me break that down. In the jungle, Modele, you can't save. You cannot save anything. Animals don't save in the jungle because
Right.
they don't have the faculty to put things away in that sense. We have interesting record of the ant, though. It's able to save in summer what it's going to eat in
In
winter.
winter.
The ant does that, which is some form of saving. But that is a very small constituency, a small community. When you look at the whole economy of the jungle, animals can't save. Lions can't save. If a lion gets a deer now, he must eat all he can and finish it up, because the whole thing is going to perish. And if he doesn't consume them, he's going to lose it, right? So the idea is there's no saving culture in the jungle. Now, when human beings don't save, even though they have the capacity to do so, because they can reason, they can self-question, they can imagine, they can pre-play, they can replay negative experiences and be inspired by it. They can replay negative experiences or positive experiences and reinforce their commitment through it. They can replay, they can pre-play the future. We have the capacity to question every experience we are having.
Yeah.
When we don't save, is jungle behavior. You see, anything you share methodology with, on many levels, is equal to you in capacity. That's what you are saying. Even if it is not design, it's choice. So if you don't save, if 2 plus 2 is 4,
Yeah.
and 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, then 2 plus 2 and 2 multiplied by 2 are the same. Why? Because they are both equal to 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 9 minus 8 is 1. So 5 minus 4 and 9 minus 8 are the same. Forget
Right.
about the numbers. They are both equal to 1. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if the jungle equal no savings and human being equals no saving, then the jungle and that human being are the same. It's just logic.
That's some scary
right?
math.
It's just
Yeah.
logic. They say that wisdom is a defense as money is a defense. That's a scripture in the Bible. It says wisdom is a defense as money is a defense. So if wisdom is equal to defense and money is equal to defense, then money and wisdom are the same. You can't say you have wisdom and you don't have money. There's a scripture that says that wisdom has the advantage of giving success, right? So one of the proof of your wisdom is the size of your pocket. You can't, that's why they said evil under the sun is a poor wise man. You can't have a poor wise man. He wasn't wise. If he's wise, he's going to have money.
Paradox.
He won't be poor. So in the same way, when you don't save and animals don't save, you should change your middle name, add maybe giraffe or python there. You are in the family. You are one of them.
Oh,
In the
wow.
same way, if we cannot come together and build and transform, if we cannot elevate, regardless of the geographical change that we have experienced, to know that we are guests here, we are a minority here, and we can come together to build something that can unlock gratitude in our host communities, right? And unlock the inspiration and the support of our hosts, right? If we can do that and come together to organize at that level of elevation, we are not different from animals, because if you bring dogs here, they're not going to do anything more than they do anywhere they go. If you bring lions here, they're going to behave typical to the way lions behave. A lion is not going to walk into a modern city and say, oh, I'm not in the jungle again, I'm now in the city. No, let me kill human beings. Look at human beings. No. If you bring a lion into a daycare center, it's not going to say, oh, look at children. Tiger, what are we doing here? Let's leave this room. No. It's going to say, wow, arrange meat. If a lion makes into a classroom where human beings are learning, it's not going to say, wow, human beings are teaching. Let's leave this class for them. No. It's going to say, what a set of meats that are set up in a good order. he's going to start eating those human beings. When the lion starts eating them, it's not wickedness, it's design, right? It's expected, it's typical of the lion, right? So the lion is not going to change just because he finds himself in any geography. It's never going to elevate. The lion can shave. The only reason why he has not shaved is because he can't ask himself why. Why must I have long hair? Can I shave it, grow it back, change it? Can I bind it? Can I tie it? He can do all of that. That's why we make our hair. We do all of those, right? So lions will never do that. So when you find human beings remain, despite the weight of the environment they find themselves in, and they cannot elevate, is jungle behavior. That is the lowest resolution of all species. We need to go in that direction so that people can see how silly and stupid it is to actually carry so much of what we call human
puts it in
and not be able
perspective
to
for sure.
elevate to that level.
Yeah.
So to put it properly, Modele, is the idea that our selfish ideas that put us in a place of comfort in the pursuit of economics and welfare, right, robs us of our humanity. Because if the motivation is our humanity, we will always consider others in how we move. Like I said, you know, the best of you is always in you, but the completion of you is in others. And there is a power of the other person that completes your own journey. And we all have to be humble to recognize that alone we will create a lot. Together we will finish every time.